Morning everyone. Wasn't with you last week on Thoughts for the Day. I know you had one or two repeats, but both Tom and I were taking a little break from Thoughts for the Day, and still doing that. But I did say I might pop up with one or two thoughts if I have any thoughts left in my head over the next 2 weeks. But don't hold me to that. Normal service will be resumed as soon as possible, or Norman service will be resumed as soon as possible, which is what I used to say when I was a kid. I also used to say as a kid, friends and Herberts instead of friends and neighbours. You know, the older ones amongst us will remember that old song by Billy Cotton and his band. And if by now you've fallen asleep, let me just say this: wakey wake, hey! Only those of a certain age will get that one. Anyway, enough of me rambling on about nonsense. I should take note of that of myself, of what I'm about to say, really. Last week I watched a film called Resistance. I'm fascinated by the French resistance and have been since I was a child. You know, growing up just after the war. The war was very evident in people's minds, and so I picked that up, I think. But this particular film wasn't just about the French resistance. It was the story of the French mime artist, Marcel Marceau, probably the greatest mime artist the world has ever known. And again, many of the older viewers will remember him, but I'm just going to try and show you a little clip just to show you who I'm talking about. If I can do this, hang on, I need to be ambidextrous, just bear with me. So this is Marcel Marceau. You can't see it. Can you see a little bit of him? The reflection of the window is detracting from it. But this wonderful mime artist, and that might recall bring a few memories back. And the film surprised me, because I'd not really known anything about Marceau apart from his mime. And as a younger man, apparently, his father despaired of him because, from his perspective, his son wasn't doing anything practical to earn a living, and he was just concerned with acting and mime, and that's all he wanted to do. And his father was concerned for him about how he would survive in the world without a trade, without any other skills. But of course he became a world famous mime, and he delighted audience for decades. He created this tragic comedy character called Bip, who encountered the world without words. But during World War II, his skills as a mime came in handy for another reason. He used them to save Jewish children during the Holocaust. He was recruited to help the French resistance by his cousin Georges Longier, who was a commander in the secret unit, who was part of the Œuvre de Secours aux Enfants, which was a Jewish relief group that smuggled Jewish children from occupied France to neutral countries. Longier, his cousin, was credited with saving around 350 children. And their mission was to evacuate Jewish children who'd been hiding in a French orphanage and get them to the Swiss border, where they could sneak over the border to safety. But travelling with large groups of children was anything but easy. Marceau had a secret weapon, his training as a mime. And Longier told the story that the kids loved Marcel and they felt safe with him. And he'd already begun doing performances in the orphanage where he'd met a mime instructor earlier on. And the kids had to appear like they were going on vacation to a home near the Swiss border. And Marcel really put them at ease with his mime and his comedy. And Marceau, who was Jewish, didn't just use his acting skills to make the kids comfortable. He also used them to save their lives. He mimed to keep children quiet as they were escaping. And the son of one of Marceau's resistance comrades said it had nothing to do with show business. He was miming for his life. And the actor also posed as a Boy Scout leader to trick the authorities. He went disguised as a scout leader and took 24 Jewish children, all in scout uniforms, through the forest to the border where someone else would take them into Switzerland. And when he unexpectedly ran into a group of German soldiers near the end of the war, he pretended he was a member of the French army and demanded they surrender. And they did, all 20 of them, just to him. You see, the whole of Marceau's career and his exploits in the Second World War were really based on that old phrase, actions speak louder than words. And many people think that that phrase is from the Bible, probably from the book of Proverbs, but it isn't. It's not in the Bible in that form. And the closest we get to it is probably John chapter 3, verse 18, where it says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." And while we can't make a claim that this proverb comes from Scripture, there is clear evidence that God asks us not to just say, but to do. And actions can do many things, can't they? They can reveal. In Titus chapter 1, verse 16, it says, "They claim to know God, but by their actions they deny him." These actions have the ability to reveal what is in a person's heart, don't they? And actions can conceal. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 1, it says, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others." These are the actions that sometimes conceal what's really in the heart. Some people's actions are merely to create an impression, an image of who they are. And the actions may be good, but they conceal the real motivation behind them. And some actions can confuse. Sometimes people might feel that they deserve to be shunned or criticised, or for someone to be angry with them. And then we can go along and treat them with respect and mercy and kindness. And sometimes that causes confusion. Why are you doing that? How can you do that? How can you know what I've done? How can you be that way? And actions can confirm, can't they? In John chapter 13, verse 35, Jesus says, "By this, everyone will know you are my disciples, if you love one another." And our actions have the ability to confirm what God is doing in our lives, such as when we respond with patience when we might have flown off the handle, or when we exhibit kindness and compassion for others rather than being self-centered. Words are futile unless they're backed with our actions. Marcel Marceau didn't need words. His actions always spoke loud and clear. Well, that's the end of another thought for the day. I'll hope I can think of something again later on in this week, but just bear with me. And take care. It was lovely to see everyone yesterday at church, and I think we just about managed with the wind, and I was really cold because I didn't put a jumper on, but thank you to Derek for helping me with his fleece, and to Barry for getting me a cup of Costa coffee. That was love in action, I think. Anyway, speak to you soon. Take care of yourselves, and God bless. God bless.